Hi everyone in English 2323, it's Dr. E here, and I wanted to provide you with a little bit of feedback for your reading journal so that as you move into your second submission of the assignment, you kind of have some feedback to go on. Please note that everybody who submitted their work has received a grade, so definitely after viewing this and letting me know if you have any questions, go in and take a look at that specific feedback. You should see blue text, that's for me, in addition to maybe some purple, either text or highlighted areas, and that's usually an indication of grammar or spelling or something like that, but I'll touch on that in just a moment. So I'm just going to walk through some of the things that I saw so that you can maybe work to correct those things in the future or think about those things as you go to submit your second reading journal assignment. So the first thing I really want to encourage you to do is to revisit the instructional video and the handout. Like I said, don't lose points for some things that are just part of the assignment. I mean, I don't want you to lose points at all, of course, but if you just kind of review that information before your next submission, that'll just keep those things fresh in your mind and you can catch any of those kind of little things here and there that you may lose points for. So I do need to make a note about plagiarism. Unfortunately, I saw this in some assignments, not only for this course, but for my writing courses. Please don't do it. Be especially careful. You know, you need to use quotation marks always and give credit to authors always. So this, I was seeing a lot just in terms of the summary. So either people were taking specific sentences from our course text without using quotation marks, or taking copied and pasted information from websites. So that's a big no-no. That is considered plagiarism. As our syllabus states, the first time it happens, you will receive a 0 grade. The second time it happens, it's a failure in the course. So please do your best to absolutely avoid that. And this is just a basic tenet of academic writing in general, is to be as careful as possible. We live in a digital age where it's pretty easy to copy and paste. And sometimes that's appropriate, right? If you are quoting something specifically, you can copy and paste it and put those quotation marks around it. But those quotation marks are necessary. Offering a citation, giving the author credit is necessary. And a page number for our course text when you quote is also necessary. So I advise those of you who did that to please revise and resubmit, but also definitely let me know if you have any questions about that. I don't want any of us moving forward in the class without kind of having an understanding of the risks of plagiarism and also what plagiarism entails. Okay. So I put here, just as a reminder, what I note in one entry or area is going to apply to the entirety of your assignment. So I'm not gonna, every single time I see like if you haven't placed quotation marks around the title of a chapter or a text, I'm not going to note that in every single area. So you as the author, you have to revise and edit accordingly, okay? And along the same lines, I'm not necessarily going to point out every single thing that needs to be corrected. That's just too overwhelming. And overall, we're looking for just generally, is the entirety of the work being done as assigned, and what kind of feedback is absolutely necessary, right, for you to kind of move forward and get the best grade possible, right? So I am making a note here, please edit, please revise. If you need to use Grammarly, by all means, go ahead. Use the spell and grammar check features in Microsoft Word. If you are using a Mac and utilizing Pages to write your work, there are spell and grammar check features there as well. It's one of those things where, again, don't lose points for things that a program can help you with, right? If you're seeing squiggly lines that are red or green in Microsoft Word, then take some time to just double check and make sure that everything is correct. I'm not somebody who is going to take off points for every single grammar issue, but if it becomes something consistent and it takes away from my ability to understand your ideas, then yeah, that's probably something that's going to count against you. So just add that extra step of editing and revising. I didn't see this a ton, but it's something just to kind of consider in the future. In more formal writing, just work to avoid you, Y-O-U, because it's not a conversation, right? You're not having a conversation with your audience. You are presenting your ideas. You are backing them up by using those quotation marks and everything. So it's something to just kind of work on as a general habit in your writing. Using the first person is something very different because it is you are writing this paper. These are, in some areas where it's appropriate, your opinions and beliefs, but adding you makes it a bit too conversational, and it becomes a writing crutch. Oftentimes when I see it once in a paper, I start to see it multiple times. So it's just something to maybe recognize in your own writing. Please double space all the work that's submitted in the assignments area. It's MLA formatting. It's included in the templates, so you can download the templates. I encourage you to do so. But for those things that you turn into the assignments area, it also leaves some space, in addition to being MLA formatting, also leaves space for me to include my comments and suggestions. If it's single space, not only is it's not MLA formatting, but it makes it hard for me to go into your paragraph and offer some direct feedback. Please include all journal entries for a certain time period. So from one due date to the next due date for this assignment, put all of those entries in a single document. Don't submit those separately. Please refer to the authors by the last name. I was seeing some people refer to, say, Tennyson as Alfred. I can understand the reasoning behind that, but we want to be respectful of the figures, right? We're not referring to Shakespeare as William. If we are, we should not be. Or Toni Morrison as Tony. We don't know these people, so it sounds a little too familiar. But it also makes sense when we're thinking of, excuse me, a works cited page. I'm not going to look for Alfred in a works cited, right? That's not the first thing that should appear in a citation for Tennyson's work. It's his last name, Tennyson, right? So that's why we utilize last names in MLA formatting and in all academic writing. So these are figures that we don't know, but it's also something that matches a bibliography page for, depending on if you're using APA, Chicago style, MLA, always use last names. Okay. Speaking of authors, I didn't see this too much. This is just kind of a general note for future writing. Be careful with pronouns. So if you're writing about Tennyson and you wrote she wrote this or she lived then, that just raises a red flag in terms of, are we making sure to connect the author to the writing? It can be sometimes difficult to infer gender pronouns, and you don't necessarily have to. I put here, use they. They is becoming much more widely accepted in terms of pronoun as a non-gender specific pronoun. So in order to avoid any mislabeling of people and their gender identity, you can go ahead and use they for our class. That's completely acceptable and becoming much more common. Offer a thorough summary. So provide a full view of the author's main ideas. For some of you, it's going to be, okay, you need to limit your summary, just choose those main ideas. And for some of you, it is expanding just a bit to give a clear view of what the author's intentions in a particular piece are. Short story, poem, chapter titles, everything from our course text needs to be cited with quotation marks around the title. So capitalize all the words aside from articles. Examples are a, the, of. So we have the Lady of Shalott. The first is capitalized. Here is capitalized. Of is an article. It does not require capitalization. Every text that appears in our course text will be in quotation marks because it's an entry in an anthology. That's how Emily identifies it. And additionally, just to start thinking about this in the future, every single text we read separately in our course book, that would be a separate entry in the works cited. So yeah, that's a lot. So for a biography of Tennyson, that would be a separate entry in your works cited from the work by Tennyson, from the biography from another author. It's not just one single citation for the entire book. That's for future reference. That's when we're starting to think about our paper portfolio, which is coming up, right? So just something to kind of think about. You don't need a works cited page for your reading journal. This is just for future reference, right? MLA is the worst, right? I know it's the worst. I know it can be confusing. Just be careful when quoting, right? Make sure that you're placing the period where it needs to be, that you're including original punctuation if that's a part of it. I know it can be confusing because it's essentially, with MLA, we have the quote ends, We have a space after the ending quotations. We have the parentheses, and I'm just using this as an example, making up a page number. So we have the last name of the author, the person who originally wrote the words that you're quoting, a space, the page number without PG or PAGE, any of that. The period goes after that parentheses. Even if it appears in the quotation, remove that period from the original and put it right here. So we don't need double periods, and certainly we don't want the period just being right here. I know it's weird. It's just MLA, okay? So always look at the assignment feedback. That's definitely, I put specific feedback in areas because I really want you to be aware of these things for future submissions. You shouldn't just brush over comments or items you don't understand. If you see something in the feedback that you don't get, that's no way to live, right? That's no way to kind of think about those things in the future and possibly correct them, okay? So when you're in your Turnitin document, and remember that in D2L there is a document that shows you how to go, what to click, what to do. The blue area is for my feedback. The red area is for similarities. So oftentimes that's either plagiarism, right? If you don't see quotation marks, or it's quotes, and you'll see those quote. If you have something with quotation marks around it and it's highlighted when you click the red button, then you are doing okay, right? Or if your heading or header appears and it's highlighted, that's just because it will appear in other things that you've submitted, but it's where you're not seeing the quotation marks that's the problem. And then purple, that's usually Turnitin noting a grammar or editing issue. So I encourage you to just look at one of these at a time, okay, to see the different kinds of feedback. If you see these different bubbles, you can click on them when you're in Turnitin, and it will expand and give you an explanation. Article doesn't mean like an academic article or journal article. It means it's a grammatical thing. So if you click on the bubble, it will give you an explanation. This weird one, a lot of you will see, it's confusing. It's a missing comma. There's a tiny little comma in there. So click on the bubble and it will tell you that you either have a comma that you don't need or you're missing one. Usually, of course, it's missing. SV for subject verb agreement. Here's an example. There's places where instead of there are places where, that's a subject verb issue that needs to be addressed. And then coordinating conjunction. For some of you, I left these things highlighted so that you can see how often you do that. You begin a paragraph with and, but, because there are going to be some professors that you have in the future who are not okay with this because it's not, quote, highly grammatical. I don't care. I don't care that you start with a coordinated conjunction. I care if you do it in every single sentence, right? So make sure that you're kind of seeing that as one of your writing habits so that you can go into your future submissions and kind of keep that in mind. Okay. Credit the authors, right, for the work. So in your summary, don't just say, the Lady of Shalott is about this, and then this happens, and then this happens. Give credit to the person who wrote the text. That's part of summarizing work. Tennyson writes this text. His poem elaborates on, I'm just using Tennyson throughout. There is a revise and resubmit folder available in D2L as well as an extra credit folder. Please take some time to go in and look at that information and let me know if you have any questions because it's an opportunity that's available. Before I let you go, I have been given permission by this student to share her work as an example. This is from a writing class. I just want you to see what an entry in the journal should look like, right? So you have the full heading, the full header. This is all included in the template, so download and use it. She's placed the title in quotation marks and included the author. Her summary is double spaced. It's not too long, but it still covers all the main ideas. There's a response to a particular issue that she wanted to address and dig into. She then has the quote. She's used MLA formatting guidelines, and then she offers an explanation of the quote. So that's just to give you a sense of what it looks like. And then she has that line and goes into her second. You don't have to use this line, but just a couple of spaces and move into your second is going to be key. If you do have any questions about the information shared here or what you see in your feedback, just let me know. Please take some time to look at your feedback before you submit your next journal assignment. All right, y'all, take care.